Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about the sequel to Class of 1984, and that film is Class of 1999. This film came out May 11th of 1990. It's rated R. It's an hour and 39 minutes long. Had a budget of $5.2 million, and upon release it only made $2.4. Although Vestron, who was the production company for this film, was having financial difficulties. As a matter of fact, this is one of their final films they released through Taurus Entertainment before they went out of business. And this movie was written and directed by Mark Lester, just like the Class of 1984. And Mark Lester had done Commando with Schwarzenegger, Firestarter, Showdown in Little Tokyo. So he'd been around for a while directing films. And there was a want for a sequel to Class of 1984. That was a very well received film and did pretty well at the box office. Now this film takes a different approach. Now in the original Class of 1984, which I did a review for a while ago, if you want to see, just scroll on down through my reviews, you'll find that review. That was more about the teachers dealing with these kids, this gang of kids in school that were harassing other good kids and the teachers themselves. This has more to do with the teachers harassing the kids, although the kids aren't all good either, but by the end of the film, you're rooting for the kids against these robot teachers. And in this film, we have Bradley Gregg as Cody. We come to find out right in the beginning of the film that he just got out of prison, or kid prison. And Tracy Lynn plays Christine, and she was in Fright Night 2, which I love that sequel. And she plays the new girl at school, and her father's the principal of the school, and he's played by Malcolm McDowell, and he's Dr. Miles Langford. And Malcolm McDowell, he's in this film a little bit. He shot his role in 2 days while they were filming this role. And other notable actors that have been around for a while. Stacy Keach plays Dr. Bob Forrest. He is the one who approaches the school about his program for these robot teachers to clean up the school, discipline the children, and make it possible for them to learn. And Patrick Kilpatrick plays one of the robot teachers. He plays Mr. Briles, and he was in Death Warrant, Last Man Standing, Eraser, many other films. The great Pam Grier is in this film as Mrs. Connors. And John P. Ryan plays Mr. Harding, or Harden. And John Ryan's been in a ton of films. He was in Death Wish 4. He was in Delta Force 2. He was in a ton of films in the 80s and early 90s. And basically, we get to know Cody. He is our main lead. And he just got out of prison. And he's going back to school. And at the beginning of the film, they set up where the school is. They filmed this in Seattle. Where the school is has been walled off. But these two rival faction gangs have taken over the area. So the only really safe place that they can control that has its own armed security force is the school itself. The surrounding area is like a war zone. So it's kind of like Escape from New York in that respect, although Mark Lester said he was influenced by Mad Max, or The Road Warrior, as it were. And Cody's getting back in, meets some of the gang members. His brother is involved with the gang now. And you can see the rival with the other gang, and these new teachers are starting. These 3 new teachers, and they're robots. And Stacy Keach is there with his scientists to monitor these robots to make sure they perform correctly. And at first, everything goes pretty well. They discipline the kids when they have to, but pretty soon things take a dark turn where they start killing the bad kids. Now, like again, these kids, some of these kids that they're punishing aren't the greatest kids. I mean, they're doing some awful things. But Mark Lester does something smart. By the end, about halfway through the film, you start sympathizing with the kids because these robot teachers are taking things to the extreme, and Stacy Keach is fine with that. Matter of fact, there's a part in the film where Malcolm McDowell's character confronts Stacy Keach and says he didn't want this. He didn't want these kids getting killed. He just wanted order in his school and the kids to learn something. And then Malcolm McDowell gets killed because he's trying to stop the program. And Stacy Keach's like, no, you can't stop the program. And it's definitely... Mark Lester there's some undertones and talks about security in schools, which I know has been talked about in the news as well in recent years. But overall, I haven't seen this film in forever. It was probably since the 90s since I've seen this film. So I don't remember much about it except for the robot teachers. It's always one thing that stuck in my head. But I know I always preferred Class of 1984. That has not changed. But sitting down and watching this with my buddy Dale on Friday night, I gotta admit, I had a good time with it. Yes, there's some cheesy things in the film for sure. Some of the acting is not the greatest, especially from some of our younger cast. Some of the younger castmates aren't the greatest. Now, all the experienced castmates like Malcolm McDowell, Stacy Keach, Patrick Kilpatrick, Pam Grier, John P. Ryan, they're all fantastic in this film. It's the younger cast. Sometimes the acting is not the greatest, but Mark Lester keeps the pace moving. He directs some of the action scenes fairly nicely. I mean, he'd already done some big action films like Commando by this point in his career and Showdown in Little Tokyo. So he was up to the challenge of pulling off some of these action scenes on a smaller budget. Overall, I had a good time with this film. Is it perfect? No, there's a lot of problems here. Some bad acting, some weird directing choices. There's some good special effects considering the budget. I was surprised how well some of the mechanical effects held up in this film. So that was a nice surprise as well. And by the end of the film, again, I was rooting for the kids, even though they weren't good technically themselves. I mean, the best kid in the whole film is Tracy Lynn's character, Christine. She is definitely the good girl of the group. She's not doing anything unlawful or anything like that. But by the end, you start to like Cody as well. He grows on you as the film goes on, although the acting by Bradley Gregg is okay, but there's spots where it's kind of, it's not the greatest. But overall, I had a good time with this film. It's definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it, although we had to watch it in full screen. It was the only way we could get it. I don't know if there's a widescreen version out there, and watching a movie in full screen that was shot widescreen sucks, as we all know. But again, at the end of the day, I had a good enough time with this film. I would give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed myself way more than I ever thought I would, because I didn't remember much about it except for the robot teacher part. And I had a good time. And it's a pretty damn good little exploitation film. And if you've never seen it, check it out. But if you've never seen Class of '84, check that one out first, because this is a direct sequel. Although, honestly, you don't have to see the first one to understand what's going on. This one is a totally separate story, not connected to the first one whatsoever. But yeah, overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, which surprised the hell out of me. I wasn't expecting much because I didn't remember much about it, again, except for the robots. But yeah, Class of 1999, have you ever seen this film? Leave a comment down below, let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'll be back next week with some more reviews. Until then, bye.